Hello and welcome to the Knyte Cast. Austin here. We're bringing you uh, a new kind of video today. We're actually going to be looking into Magic the Gathering. Um, I have been playing Magic the Gathering for a very long time. Ray has been playing Magic the Gathering for a long time, and we both enjoy this game. We both play it all the time. So I wanted to see if you guys would enjoy this kind of content. So what I'm bringing to you today is Kaldheim Giants. It's Kaldheim Giants, and basically, it's all about giants. I have been watching kind of videos about different giant decks and stuff like that, seeing what everybody else is building. But the first day before anything happened, I got my own version of Kaldheim Giants together, and I've been changing it ever since, based off of things that I've noticed, things that I see a lot, what the meta's looking like, and things like that. Basically, the deck is big mid-range. You stomp out a bunch of giants in the later turns, but in the early turns, you're mostly focused on ramp and stopping the opponent through various interaction cards. And your big payoff is Genesis Ultimatum into these large giants. So, if you like big stompy, if you like drawing cards, if you like big spells, then this is definitely the deck for you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to the deck itself in-game, and I'm going to let it speak for itself. If you want, stick around at the end where I break down the deck and each card inside it, and hope to see you at the end of the video. Have a great time watching the games. They went really well. Kirito. Somebody's been watching too much anime. Not enough, really. They should know that Kirito isn't the best isekai protagonist. Oh, I did like the last season. Alright, I'm going to start off with the Castle Branches here. This is a pretty good hand. We have to ramp into our Genesis Ultimatum, and this gives us a lot of the lands that we need to do that. Oh, look, this guy's got the Dragon Pet. I like that one. We're going to go with... We're gonna go with a red here. We're gonna see what they play. I do want to Bone Crush this though. Yeah, that's better to Bone Crush. No thanks. We're done here. Life gain. Good. We're gonna drop the island here, go for the Bone Crusher Giant. It's power 3 or greater, so we can't block this, but we can still do 4 damage behind, so not that bad. Plus we've got the Battle of Frost and Fires coming in soon to clear the board. Seasoned Hallowblade, pretty good card. Selfless Savior, even better card. I think to protect the beloved princess, I guess. Getting in for your beats. Getting in for your beats. We can at this point start Fabled Passaging to thin out the deck. I think we're gonna go for a... We're gonna go for a red here. The reason for that is we have more double red cost cards than we do double green cost cards. We're not going to attack. We're going to block the Selfless Savior if the Selfless Savior comes in. Right now we're on the back foot, but next turn we'll be able to play the Battle of Frost and Fire and start doing some stuff. It's a human-based deck. Still only attacking with that. I want to get rid of that card for some reason. Okay, so we can play the Castle Franchise here. We already control an island, so this is going to come in. And now we can play the Bark Channel Pathways and anything else we find on the green modes. We're going to Battle Frost and Fire here. He can't counter it, doesn't have any mana left over. But he has to decide how he's going to deal with all of this. So, this will become tapped if he does sack for it. He just lets it go. So something's in the hand. I can't block this anyway, so I'm just gonna go in. Something's in the hand that they really want to keep. Okay, so that's good for them. Human. Another. I guess that's what it was. He's gonna out-heal me. Very interesting. We can't. We could destroy an artifact here, but we don't really want to do that. We have enough green and stuff for everything to go down the way that we want it to. And next turn we will actually be able to draw off. So we're gonna go with this. We're gonna scry 2. I know we just put the glimpse in the top, but ooh. So we put the glimpse. Keep the glimpse in the top. The Quakebringer will actually just come straight onto the battlefield. That'll also prevent the life gain that's going on. This is a race that they're slowly losing, inch by inch. We need to make sure that we play this on green. I hope I don't misclick or something. Seasoned Hallowblade. Again. Draw. Reveal. Oh no, we drew 2! Misplay, misplay. I shouldn't have left it up there. Alright. If we get 5 untapped lands, we can just play it though. We're actually going to discard the Quakebringer here, because it'll trigger from the grave. And we've got the Cyclone Summoner, but it doesn't trigger. So the thing to remember about the Cyclone Summoner, it does not trigger if you play it from Genesis Ultimatum. So if you want to actually return everything, which we do because we want to get rid of those 2, you actually put it to your hand. We're going to go grab a red. Let's put a copy of the World Tree in here just for the mana. Mana base side. And I think we want a glimpse here. No. Do we? We can block this all day now. I think we're actually just going to play the Bone Crusher Giant on the creature form and threaten more lethal. They don't have any cards in their hand, so they would have to draw. They can't do anything about this. They have to block and lose it because they have no creatures in hand, which is fine with us. Super fine with us. One less blocker for Beanstalk Giant to get through. Now this isn't lethal. We only have 14 damage. They're going to go up to 23. But in 2 turns it is lethal. The one thing that is really good about this though, the Cyclone Summoner will get rid of all of these, and they'll only be able to play the Beloved Princess on one of these unless they draw a land. Actually, even if they have a land here and they draw another land. Really good. We also have the Battle of Frost and Fire, which can kill this now in our hand. So I might just do that. Opponent thinking of all of the ways that this could have gone better. Very nice card back. Living in the Eldraine days, though. They were like, this beloved princess was supposed to get me all the way. There you go. Good. Now play it. Play it. Dang, I wish they played it. Oh, they are playing it. Good. Go Battle Frost and Fire here. Giants cost 2 less. That's a very good sign for this. We might be able to play both. So this will kill all of these. Drop the island. We can play the Cyclone Summoner to even bounce those other 2, just in case they had some kind of a haste creature. We're actually going to attack first. No reason to, but just and then we can Cyclone Summoner to bring this back to our hand as well, which will let us board like the Headmaster. If we need to. The board wipe part of this is the best part, so Cyclone Summoning this card is very beneficial. Okay. We We can do this, and if we get one untapped land, we'll have enough for another Battle of Frost and Fire. One thing that you have to worry about when you're playing a Genesis Hollow Maiden deck sometimes is decking yourself. Very good. Go green-red here, so that we can play the Quakebringer if we need to. I think we are going to play the Quakebringer. Okay. I was going to destroy their enchantment if that continued any longer. Against Trial by Fire, I hope they're playing mono red. I actually don't hope they're playing mono red, but like, I hope thematically they're playing mono red. This is an okay hand. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play the Bark Channel Pathway out on green. Even though we usually need blues early, because I'm going to use the Lotus Cobra to get a Beanstalk Giants left half and try to play both Lotus Cobras out very early. Well, they've got they're really going Trial by Fire here. We do really need to get this stuff out though. I'm gonna start with the mountain just in case. I am playing as Ral Is It Viceroy. Those of you who played The Return to Ravnica, you may remember the Planeswalker. Deals 1 damage to defending player. Well, we're not going to be doing any blocking early, realistically speaking. The problem is when this guy plays his Embercleave. That's what's going to happen. Though the Embercleave is going to be a problem. Let's play with the Lava Worm. I don't know where it is. There it is. Defending player. And this would deal another 3 damage to our face. So this would deal 3 damage total to our face even after we blocked it. But I don't want to block it. That's kind of more like it. I'd rather play the Bone Crusher here. But we're going to go Lotus Cobra into Fabled Passive. We're going to go double green. We're going to go grab a blue. Yeah. And we're going to go with red. Green again. We're going to go grab a red, blue, red. And we're gonna go red here. We're off by 1 from playing Quakebringer, but we're going to go right side Bone Crusher to block, and we're actually gonna attack. And that's why we didn't block there. Let's see what Mono Red has in store for us today. So we're actually done with the Lotus Cobras now. We're hoping to just get lands. If we draw any lands, let's see, we're at 4. We can drop 5, and then we can go to Cyclone. So we're gonna keep the Lotus. We're gonna try to keep the Lotus Cobras by not blocking here. Okay. That's fine. This gives us an opportunity. Good. Very good. So we're gonna go blue. We're gonna go look for a blue. The next thing we gotta look for is realistically, we need to get a green somehow, but we're gonna go red here. See if we can play the Cyclone Summoner and return all those to his hand. Now we're gonna attack for 4. Bye! See you later, Trial by Fire. I guess water wins this time. Hit with a tsunami, weren't you? Man, if only you can surf on this tide. Ha 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 ha. Alright. Donk 47. Agent 47 is going to be our probably final opponent. This is a pretty good hand. I really wish I had a Lotus Cobra in it. At the end of the last one, you might have noticed that the Lotus Cobra got bounced. That's a good thing, because, you know, when you're towards the end of these, the Lotus Cobra, it's not going to be the thing that wins you the game. In the early game, getting that Cyclone Summoner out for 7, like a 7/7 out against Mono Red is really good, though. Donk is having some troubles deciding if their hand is good enough. Back on the lava level. Gonna play with the worm. Oh. Gonna play with the worm. Donk. Playing a red mana. Another mono red player. You hate to see it. You just hate to see it. We need to get the Broken Wings out at instant speed versus this. What we're gonna do is we're going to play this on green, I think, to get the Broken Wings out at instant speed. But we're also going to foretell the Quakebringer, which is why this is going to be our second turn play. The Fabled Passages are good to keep in your hand because you really do need, again, these double mana costs on these is really hurting. It really hurts later. We do have a green already, so we might play this on blue. We might, like, do something else. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. But we'll find out. We'll find out together. Mono Red is a hard matchup for this deck. Very surprising they won the last one. Ooh, another Fabled Passage. Not really what we want to see. We could go... Because we're being under threat of an Embercleave happening. What we could do is we can go red here to start the setup for the Quakebringer, and then Broken Wings untapped land next turn. Yeah, I think that's the right play, because we need to make sure that we have like an untapped land to go get. Should we end up getting a Lotus Cobra or something, we're in a very good spot for something like that, but currently we're on the fence on all fronts. So yeah, we're gonna go with the Bark Channel Pathway, probably the Tide Channel actually. We're probably gonna go Tide Channel. Having a board wipe now would be super swell. We survive one more turn. Do we? 4, 6. Yeah, we survive one more turn at 1 health. We're gonna drop this on blue. If he plays the Embercleave, we have the Broken Wings for it. Other than that, we'll see. And that's a we'll see. Well, one thing you can say about Mono Red, it's fast at least. And welcome back. So let's talk about this deck. In this deck, let's look at a couple things. First thing we're gonna look at a couple of ramp elements. So Beanstalk Giant and Lotus Cobra, you got to see it in game 2. Lotus Cobra really carrying the pack, and you might be wondering why not 4 of Lotus Cobra. The reason is that one game was a little bit of an exception. We got very lucky having one Fabled Passage to start, and then drawing into a second Fabled Passage off of the Glints of the Cosmos. Had that game gone on any longer, I'm sure that we would have won. The Cyclone Summoner was on the horizon. However, we did get pretty lucky. So the Lotus Cobra is more so for the Battle of Frost and Fires and the Quakebringers, less so for the Cyclone Summoners and actually ramping out into a Genesis Ultimatum off of it, though it can happen. It's actually relatively frequent, but it's not something you should depend on. The Beanstalk Giant, always good. Having the left side of this adventure card is amazing, especially since once you play the left side, so the Fertile Footsteps side that costs 3 to search your library for a basic land card to put on the battlefield untapped. That's great, but also the Beanstalk Giant goes into exile after you play the adventure side, but you can play it from exile. The same thing with the Bone Crusher Giant, and the same thing with the Quakebringer Giant. Having these abilities to dodge hand removal, so if somebody were to look into your hand and discard, say, a creature spell, being able to play these prior to that for their adventure or foretell costs, and putting them onto the side is great, especially since they're a majority of your creatures. The only things that don't have dodge is the Lotus Cobra and Cyclone Summer. So that's great. So good ramp, especially when comboed with the Fabled Passage. That's also the reason why we're running a lot of basics. The reason that I'm doing that is because I wanted to run an amount of basics equal to a single Genesis Ultimatum cast. What I might do in the future is I might drop one mountain and go up one forest so that I have a double of both of them. The reason for that is in case we get milled, we don't want to miss any of these. So having an extra one just in case you get milled, you'll be able to still ramp out with the rest of the cards, but just in case. So that's our ramp. And then we have our card draw here. And our card draw is very important because, as you saw, sometimes this deck can go off a little too early or it doesn't have something to play early. So having these options to play early cards and scry and draw is very important with such a heavy mana curve. Glimpse the Cosmos, the best of these, because you can look at the top three and take one. So it's a scry 3, draw 1, but then you have to put the rest to the bottom. And then the Glimpse the Cosmos also allows it to be played from the graveyard if you have a Bone Crusher Giant, a Quakebringer Giant, a Cyclone. Basically any of our creatures, you're also able to play it again from exile one more time. So that's great. The second one, Invasion of Giants, being able to scry 2 for 2 mana, great already. Then the next turn you can draw a card. Again, really great, especially since you scried, so you actually know what you're going to draw for a turn and potentially what you'll draw off of this card. But on top of that, you're also able to deal 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker if you control a giant, or if you have a giant in your hand, sorry. If you have a giant in your hand, you can deal an extra 2 damage to the opponent. This deck has a lot of really random face damage that's possible. Between the Invasion of Giants and the Bone Crusher Giants, you have a potential 16 damage. And then on top of that, the Quakebringers can deal 2 damage a turn. So if you have 2 turns of Quakebringers and you actually play all of your Invasion of Giants and your Bone Crusher Giants on face, you can kill your opponent. So if you're playing versus an incredibly controlly matchup, but you're able to sneak in these little bits of damage, you're going to be able to destroy them. And then the last part is having the Giants cost 2 less. So on the third turn that this is out, you can have the Giants cost 2 less to cast. Bone Crusher Giant would cost 1, Quakebringer Giant would cost 3, Cyclone Summoner would cost 5, Beanstalk Giant would also cost 5. That's amazing. That's great because it allows you to cheat out these Giants pretty early, which is very important for this deck. Being able to ramp into it is great, but being able to cheat them out even earlier, even better. The next thing to look at is, we're just going to go in order from here. So we've done all of our 2 drops. But now let's look at the Bone Crusher Giant. So the Bone Crusher Giant deals 2 damage to any target. This is planeswalkers, creatures, face. But also if the Bone Crusher Giant is out and it gets targeted by an enemy spell or your own spell, it deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. So if your enemy tries to get rid of it, they'll take 2. If you try to bounce it yourself, you'll also take 2, but typically you're not going to be wanting to do that. Typically you're not trying to dodge anything for a Bone Crusher Giant. You want to dodge something maybe with your Quakebringer or your Cyclone. There's no real way for us to dodge anything in this deck, but just in case that was something that you wanted to do later on with the Bone Crusher Giant, if you make some edits, you don't want to dodge with this. You want to dodge with something else. It's got a great body, 4/3 for 3, awesome. And like I said, it can cost 1 off of Invasion of Giants, so this is a really good spell. You can play this on turn. Would this be 5 for 1 if you have an Invasion of Giants out on turn 2? Broken Wings. This deck has issues with hitting flyers, artifacts, and enchantments. This gets your Ember Cleaves. This gets your exile effects in white. This gets your flying creatures like Yorion out of the air. It also kills some of the rogues that can fly. This is just a very good card. I would play more of it, but I'm not sure what I would take out for it. I would probably go down like a Battle of Frost and Fire or something. But this card is amazing for this deck specifically. It doesn't come in handy all the time, but it comes in handy most of the time, and that's what matters. Being able to deal with threats that would end the game for you, great. Quakebringer. Quakebringer Giant has a couple of reasons for being in the deck. The biggest reason for having 4 of it in is that for every one of these that's in your graveyard, if you have a creature that's a giant on the battlefield, the Quakebringer will actually deal 2 damage to each opponent. So that's amazing. It also has the ability to shut down life gain decks. If you drop this versus an Angels or Cleric deck, they probably will sit there with their hands folded and waiting to die, because if they can't get rid of it, then they just lose the game. On top of that, even after it goes into the graveyard against those types of decks, you're still doing 2 damage to them every turn. So that's great. Battle of Frost and Fire, this hits a lot of creatures. This hits almost every rogue. This hits all the angels that aren't buffed. Battle of Frost and Fire, great card. I just removed one. We gotta get another one later. So that's the first mode, and that's really what you're playing it for. You're playing it for the non-giant board wipe, because none of your creatures other than the Lotus Cobra will die to the Battle of Frost and Fire. So that's amazing. The second part of it is the Scry 3 aspect. The Scry 3 aspect of it allows you to get into the third part of this really well. So Scrying 3, already really good, but the third part of this allows you to, if you play a spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater, during the third turn that this is out, you draw 2 cards and then discard a card. That hits Quakebringer, Battle of Frost and Fire itself, Cyclone Summoner, Beanstalk Giant, and Genesis Ultimatum. So all of these spells that you're looking to play in the late game, this sets you up for it while shutting down the early game of your opponent. Amazing. Cyclone Summoner. This card will catch people off guard. Not too many people run it. But basically, this is a Cyclonic Rift, but only against, non-wizard giants and lands. So this actually bounces your Battle Frost and Fire, bounces your Invasion of Giants, and it bounces your Lotus Cobra, allowing you to get the first triggers off again of the sagas. Bouncing the Lotus Cobra is not that bad. Typically, you've played out all of the lands in your hand, and you're just top decking at this point. So if you play the Lotus Cobra, it really costs 1 if you do draw a land the same turn. Not that bad, especially if it's a Fabled Passage, then it's just free. But you're not looking to play Lotus Cobras late. You're looking to play your Beanstalk Giants, your Genesis Ultimatums, more Cyclone Summoners, Quakebringers, Battle of Frost and Fires. You're not really looking to play the Lotus Cobras, which is why it's fine to bounce them at that point. The Lotus Cobras really do help you get there, though. Beanstalk Giant, and it's also a 7/7, and it's a wizard. Beanstalk Giant, amazing card. For any of you guys who remember Adventures or Genesis Ultimatum prior to this expansion, Beanstalk Giant is a must include. Just because it has the ramp, but it's also a huge body that you can get for free off of your Genesis Ultimatum. The Beanstalk Giant's ability is that its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control, and we ramp out pretty well. Not amazing, but we ramp out pretty well to the point where the Beanstalk Giant is almost always going to be a 7/7 when you get it out, if not one Genesis Ultimatum away from being a 10/10 or something. Which leads us to the last card, Genesis Ultimatum. Genesis Ultimatum, a very expensive card in terms of mana, especially since you need the specific colors, but that's why we have good fixing in this deck. It's a sorcery card. You look at the top 5 cards of your library, you put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand. Then you exile the card. So this card can't be flashbacked or anything like that with some other abilities. Once it's down, it's out, and that's it. But Genesis Ultimatum, great card. It's basically a draw 5 and play most of them. Our deck only has 2 cards that Genesis Ultimatum can't put onto the battlefield: Broken Wings and Glimpse the Cosmos. So being able to put all of those cards onto the battlefield is great. What I've found is that one of the issues that people have is when you play Genesis Ultimatum, you cannot play the Cyclone Summoner off of Genesis Ultimatum and get the effect. The Cyclone Summoner says, enters the battlefield if you cast it from your hand. Genesis Ultimatum specifically puts cards from the top of your library onto the battlefield without casting them, and it's not in your hand. So what you can do with Genesis Ultimatum, though, is you can choose whether or not you're actually going to put it onto the battlefield. So what you can do if you get, say, a Cyclone Summoner, a Battle of Frost and Fire, and a Lotus Cobra, and the enemy has a good-sized board, you can keep the Cyclone Summoner in your hand, keep the Lotus Cobra in your hand, play the Battle of Frost and Fire, destroy most of their creatures, and if they try to rebuild, you already have the 7 mana, because you can play Genesis Ultimatum, to play the Cyclone Summoner the next turn if they try to rebuild. After that, you can play the Lotus Cobra if you want. So Genesis Ultimatum is great, but it also cheats out all of our expensive stuff. So it cheats out our Beanstalk Giants, it cheats out our Battle of Frost and Fires, it cheats out our Quake Bringers, it cheats out our Bone Crushers, it cheats out our Invasion of Giants. It's amazing. It also just can play a bunch of lands, and to be honest, if you're filling your hand with 5 lands and you're dropping all of them, you probably can play something next turn. Whatever you're going to get at the top. And you can use Castle Vrantris, which is the first special land that we have, to help you with that. You can scry 4, or scry 2, at the end of your opponent's turn or at the beginning of your upkeep to look to see if you can grab something that's playable. And then after that, we have pretty much just fixing. Kyetra Triumphs in the late game can be used for cycling costs. We have River Glide pathways, Timber Crown pathways, and Tide Channel pathways, or Bark Channel pathways. We have the pathways for our colors, for fixing. We have the Kyetras, also for fixing. And then we have the Fabled Passages, not only for synergy of the Lotus Cobra, but also for fixing. So typically you're going to be able to hit your turn 7 Genesis Ultimatum without any issues based off of the lands that we have. This deck does run 27 lands. I typically try to keep lands as low as possible because typically they don't do things, but this deck, you really do need to hit your curve. You really do need to curve it out, and if you curve it out well, you're gonna be golden. So yeah, that's Kaldheim Giants. If you enjoyed this content, if you want to see more Magic the Gathering style content from us, please leave a like, drop a comment. If there's any decks that you want us to play, drop a comment for that as well. We just want to hear what you guys want us to do later on for this channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Hope to see you next time. Don't forget, we do have a Twitch. We stream Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 o'clock. We're changing the time for the Monday stream, but right now it's a tentative Tuesday at 8:30. Thanks so much. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you like the content, and leave a comment if you want to see some other stuff and give us some recommendations. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.